Hi there! If you're watching this video, you are probably hoping to get a position as an assistant psychologist. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my very first interview for an NHS position as an assistant psychologist. Thank you. I got lucky enough to get shortlisted to an AP job I applied for a couple months ago, and I just thought I would like to share with other people who are in the same position than me how the interview went, or what the questions were, what feedback I got, and also some tips, because it was really hard to prepare for this interview. I did so much research, so much work for it in preparation, and God, I think I wouldn't want it to go all to waste, you know what I mean? And before I go any further, I would just like to clarify, I didn't get the job, no. Unfortunately not. But, you know, it's okay, because I got really exciting feedback and I'm really confident, and I'm not gonna let that stop me. I really want this job, and I bet you do too. So stay tuned and watch the rest of this video. In this first section, I'm going to be talking about the background. So I graduated about a year ago. I have a BSc in psychology, and I have a bit of experience in the voluntary sector and as a support worker. So my application was pretty good, I would say. That was the very first time I ever got shortlisted. I applied for a few jobs a few months ago, in quarantine. I was bored, and then one of them got back to me. I was wearing a beautiful face mask, blue face mask, and I went to my boyfriend and I said, "Hey, I'm afraid I just blew my..." "Oh, what?" And there it was, the email saying I was the lucky shortlisted candidate. An interview was 2 weeks later, so I had 2 weeks to prepare. If you're a psychology graduate and you want to become a counselor or a psychologist, you probably already know how competitive it is. I know what it's like, you know, you go on the NHS website and you scroll and scroll, you're like, I don't mind, I can move, I'll apply to everything, and maybe hopefully someone will take me. And no one wants you. Sometimes the job openings close after 24 hours because of the dozens and dozens of applications. I was a voluntary assistant psychologist in an NHS service, and they had a position open for a paid post, exactly what I was doing, but paid. I applied for it, didn't even get shortlisted. That hurt, man. It really hurt. But anyway, for this position, it was for older adults, and short note, if you're interested, I could make a video specifically on how to apply for positions and, you know, what to put in your application, how I go about doing that, the structured way in which I write the application, and I can go into more depth. If that's something that you would be interested in, please let me know. So the interview was going to happen online because of lockdown, obviously, which added quite a bit of stress because I had never used Microsoft Teams and I was really scared that it wouldn't work. So I had to manage that. By the way, at the end of this video, there will be some tips on how to manage your stress, so stay tuned for the tips. Anyway, video was on a Wednesday morning. I chose the second slot, so it was gonna be 10 a.m. And I got a link the day before, so I knew I was just gonna click on the link and everything would be fine. Now, let's get on to the part that you're probably all hoping to hear, the interview questions. First of all, let me speak a little bit about the setup. There were 2 interviewers and there were going to be 6 questions, they told me right away. I knew that the slot was an hour. I knew that because they had interviewers back to back, it wouldn't end at 11. So 6 questions. First interviewer would ask the first 2, and the second interviewer would ask the next 2, and then they would split the difference. That doesn't matter. We started the interview by talking a bit about the documents I had. So it was ID, national insurance number, but just show that to the camera. And I also confirmed that my degree conferred chartered membership with the BPS, because that is necessary for NHS AP jobs. So the questions. The first question was, what are the main skills you think are relevant for this position? What are the main skills that you've had, with examples, and how would you apply them to the current position? It was a very long, convoluted question with lots of sub-questions within it. So that one, it was actually a question I was hoping to get because I had prepared a really good answer for that, where I was listing, you know, my skills in 2 different sections, like my research skills and organizational skills, and then on the other hand, my clinical skills. And then I was trying to back up both with examples. So for example, the research skills, I backed that up with undergraduate dissertation, and then the clinical skills, I backed that up with, you know, support work and therapy. And yeah, so I answered really well in that one. And then the second question, in the current situation with COVID-19, what are the main challenges that older adults might be facing? And that one did take me by surprise because I was expecting questions that would be on the population, but I didn't think that they were going to be that specific. Thankfully, I had researched a lot about older adults, and I keep myself quite updated with the news as well with COVID-19 and mental health. I could think on my feet and I could answer, they might be isolated, there could be some biases from the population against older adults. But I already mentioned the loneliness, not seeing your family, and I also mentioned how maybe they were not going to be able to access all the internet information, so I spent quite a while on this one. Then the third question is, what are some things to consider when you are assessing people and performing neuropsychological assessments on people? What do you have to be mindful of? And give examples. And again, this is something that took me a bit by surprise because it wasn't, the classic question of like, give an example of a time where you've done a really good neuropsychological assessment. This was like a hypothetical, how would you do one correctly? But I liked that it was future oriented as opposed to past oriented, because then it would just let me give the perfect answer. So I really thought about it before answering, and I started answering, and I started saying that you have to be careful about the communication. It's really important. Try and make sure that you're making yourself understood and that they understand you, but also that you understand them. And be mindful and considerate of their feelings, because it's not always the funnest thing to sit through assessments, or maybe they're in some sort of distress that maybe you wouldn't notice right away if you're not looking out for those signs. So it wasn't the most thorough answer. I could have gone into more depth. The fourth question, in your job, you are asked to put a pack of resources together for COVID-19. So you're asked to try and put together a pack of information for service users. How would you go about doing that? And again, another future-oriented question of hypothetical scenario. And for that one, I sort of made a mental mind map of, well, first of all, I would try to make sure I understand the assignment, look if it has already been done online by the service and try to update it, ask around other team members if they've done something like this before, if I have any examples or resources that already exist, and ask around if people have ideas, brainstorming to try and see if we can get something together. And then, try to organize my time, prioritize, try to make it thorough, make it look pretty, and I really have a big passion for making things look pretty. I think my answer for that was quite good. Another question was, this job is quite busy, so how would you cope if you had too many deadlines or tasks? How do you stay on top of things? And that one I really spoke about asking for help if you need to supervisors or other people if they can help you with some tasks, and organizational skills to stay on top of things and prioritize, so time and task management. It's just a classic answer like that. And then last question was again about the older adults, and it was, sometimes mental illnesses are harder to detect in older adults than other populations. Why is that the case? And maybe give examples. I think all of the questions were kind of implied, give examples, but again, they were really long questions and you really had to listen and be thorough and give them all the answers that they wanted. And for that one, I mentioned DSM criteria was maybe old and for neurotypical middle-aged people. So if you're only looking for the DSM criteria, maybe you're gonna miss out on other signs. I think I mentioned how, no, I didn't mention, but I knew that it's more often physical symptoms of depression and anxiety in older adults than the mental and emotional symptoms. Because I had done a research on that, but it was hard to remember to give it. So anyway, those were the 6 questions, and it went really fast, and I was done in 20 minutes, which really worried me. Yeah, I left. I was happy to be done, obviously, but then I was also like, how has it only been 20 minutes? As I was answering the questions, I thought I was rambling and speaking for so long, but I really wasn't. So I think it's important to keep in mind that maybe you think you've been talking for so long because the onus is on you and it's your voice that you're hearing and they're not interrupting or anything. But it really isn't as long as you think it is. They were really nice interviewers. They were listening and nodding and appreciating, and I felt like the only reason I didn't speak as much was just my own anxieties and fears, but they were really nice, and it really took a bit of stress away that they were understanding and patient and just warm. Now I'm going to talk about the feedback I received. So a week later, the main interviewer phoned me and she said, do you have a time to speak about your interview? And I said yes, and she said, unfortunately didn't get it. So here's me looking very sad. I'm handling it well because I knew I was being filmed, but yeah, you can see, maybe pinpoint the moment of the heartbreak right there. A very interesting point though, they said I was second in line, so if it wasn't for the candidate that they took, it would have been me. I I'm happy about that, but I'm also very frustrated. The main points that I got from the feedback was that I wasn't expanding enough or giving enough examples. I answered well, like the skills question that I said that was good and everything. But the questions about the neuropsychological assessments or like the diagnosis criteria, I could have given more examples, and she said that she knew I knew, but I didn't say it. So she could tell that I had done a lot of research and prepared, but I really should have gone into more depth and given more examples, which is fair enough. It was kind of hard because, it's not like the usual feedback that I get, which is like, we just found someone with more experience than you, because that one is like, well, I couldn't have changed that in the interview, right? But this was like, if I had answered better in 2 of the questions, I probably would have gotten the interview. So it was really about the interview performance. That's a big step up though. It's harder because I'm taking it more personally, and I'm more mad at myself that I was so close, but I'm happy because it means I am so close. They mentioned that I was being extremely reflective, which is very important and something that I worked really hard on because I knew that's something that they would be looking for. So I'm happy that I researched enough on how to be reflective. And I can do a whole video on that as well if you need me to. But basically, every experience that I gave, I would say, what I learned from it, how it made me a better clinician, and how that was relevant to the role. It's a hard skill to master, and I'm still nowhere near where I should be. But I think I did pretty well, and it's thanks to the research I had done, because it's not a natural way of speaking for me anyway. So work on that, work on being reflective and be more thorough and give more examples. Don't be afraid not to speak for too long, because they want to know, they want to hear more, and they have to get the knowledge from you to tick the boxes. And the last thing of feedback they gave me was to keep applying and not be discouraged, and I would get the next one. And they were sad they wouldn't hire me because they said I came across really well and that they were really wishing me luck and everything like that. I know they probably have to say it, but it felt genuine. They mentioned that my experience was enough, and that's why they were, encouraging me to keep applying, because I was really close. So now I have some tips for you. The first tip I have for you, and this is so important, do your homework. I prepared for so long. I had an entire week full-time of preparation for the interview. I wrote 25 pages of notes on a Word document, printed half of it, saved the trees. And I'm really proud of what I did actually. And I know I prepared enough. I had all the knowledge. I researched the population, so older adults. I researched the service, the NHS trust that it was, NHS interview questions, general interview questions, the STAR technique, how to be reflective. I covered so much. I prepared a few questions, but I also reviewed my CV, reviewed my application. I could make a whole video on exactly how I prepared for the interview, but you have to prepare for the interview. You can't just ace it. Half of the questions, I couldn't have given an answer if I hadn't done my homework, and the other half, I would have given a bad answer. So research. The other tip is listen to the questions. The questions they asked were quite long. There were only 6 questions, but each question was long and had different parts. As I said, you have to make sure that you're listening exactly to what they're asking and to try and answer, obviously, like in a succinct manner, but also thoroughly, ideally in order that it was asked. If you have any need for clarification, it shows good communication skills. If you haven't heard or if you forgot what the other half of the question was, please just voice it and answer what they're asking for. The questions are chosen so specifically. Don't answer next to the question. Don't try and answer a different question you wish you had. No, answer what they asked. The other tip is reflect. So again, I could try and make a video on that if you want, but try to study models of reflections. There's the Driscoll model I think I used, which is basically, what, so what, and then what, which is the way you answer the question. So like the experience is, I was a support worker for autistic teenagers. So what? Well, it made me feel really good. It made me feel valued and like I was in the right field that I wanted. I was really enjoying this, even though it was really challenging, it was really rewarding. And then what? I feel like then because of this role, I was better able to understand psychology applied to healthcare, and a thing I could have improved upon was to try and research even more about the population. Even though I have a passion for autism, I could have looked even more into like autism in teenagers, for example, and maybe that would have made me a better clinician. That's a basic example of a reflective answer. If they asked me about my autistic experience with autistic teenagers. Yeah, I was really happy when they complimented me on that in the feedback, because I worked really hard for it and I got recognized for it. Other tip, try to relax beforehand. It's hard because I was not the most relaxed person ever. I was really, again, that's something else I researched, was how to relax before an interview, especially in the morning, because I woke up at 8, I think. I had 2 hours to prepare. I went outside for a little walk and dance before. I danced a bit to my favorite soundtrack in my headphones. Try to take it easy. I really thought this was my only chance and I had put a lot of pressure on myself, but as you can see from the feedback, this will not be my only chance. I can definitely get it, and so can you. You guys, you're amazing. You're watching this video, you're trying to get better, you're trying to get the job. You will get the job, okay? Just keep applying. Be confident in yourself. Have faith. That's kind of leading me to the next step. Do not give up. You can do this, okay? We're all here for a reason. We all are choosing this profession and in this extremely competitive field because we want to do it and we're passionate about it. Not everyone can do it, but those of us who keep going are the ones that are going to get further in this field and do the doctorate and be a psychologist. And this is great. This is the kind of thing of like, you're not going to get the job if you don't apply for it. The interviewer reassured me and told me that I would make a fantastic assistant psychologist, and that was the best thing ever. It was so great to hear that from a psychologist. Gave me more confidence. And lastly, be yourself. I know it's the cheesiest thing ever, but they want to know you. They want someone who can do the job, of course, but they also want someone that they're going to get along with and the team will get along with. I was interviewed by the head of psychology and also someone that would be in the service and maybe work with me on a daily basis. I was really trying to connect with both of them, obviously to treat them both with the same respect, try to look at them both, talk to them both. In the answers I was giving, I was really trying to make my personality shine through, especially in the questions about, gathering the resources. I was really trying to convey how much I just love report writing, statistics, office job administration. I really like that. So I was trying to convey that passion, and I think it helped me even just to enjoy the interview more, because then I was talking about something that I liked. And this is going to be your case as well. If you love the field, you love psychology, you love assistant psychologist jobs, yeah, read the job description, get excited, imagine yourself in that position. Are you happy? Show them that. Tell them you want the job. Tell them you are happy to be here. This is really important. That's about it for today's video. I know this is going to be the longest video ever. As I mentioned, I could make a whole video on how to be reflective, or a video on how to prepare specifically for the interview in a structured manner, or I could make a video on how I apply for jobs and hopefully get interviews and get shortlisted. But yeah, just let me know. If you like this video, please like it or comment or subscribe. I'm really excited to be doing this video and I hope that other people are watching it. And so if you like it or comment or subscribe, it shows that other people care about what I have to say, which is first of all a boost in my ego, and second of all a motivation to keep making those videos and share the knowledge, because what is knowledge if it isn't shared? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any comments or suggestions or ideas, again, please don't hesitate to let me know. I would just love to connect with you all. And I will see you later. Thank you.